we hear so much. We've heard so much in the last 9 months about El Nino. That's all people talk about. And in the news, that's all people seem to be talking about all the time is El Nino. Are you tired of it? Are you weary of El Nino?
It's worked out reasonably well for me. This winter I put on about 8 pounds more than I wanted to, but I blamed it on El Nino. And I thought, you know, I had a checkered academic career as an undergraduate, and I thought, God, if El Nino had been around, what I could have done with El Nino. Paper isn't ready. I'm sorry, sir, it's El Nino. It's the El Nino effect. I couldn't get to class today. El Nino. Stand up a date. El Nino. I mean, it's just, the possibilities are endless, I think.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
You just mentioned classes. I would think commencement time is coming up. You're probably someone who is asked a great deal to speak at commencement.
I do every year. It is very flattering. I do take it quite seriously. I try to do generally one large school and one smaller school. This year I am doing class day, which is not exactly commencement, but it passes for that, at Yale. And you'll be happy to know, as a graduate of the other institution, that I prepared for Yale in kind of an out-of-town tryout. I did class day at Harvard a couple of years ago, so I think I'll probably be ready for Yale by the time I get there.
I think you're confused. I went to the Harvard driving school. It's in Waltham, Massachusetts. No one ever asks much more than that. It works. Where'd you go, Harvard?
No, the interesting thing is most of the cab drivers in New York went to that same driving.
Yeah, well, I've heard many people. I'm curious about somebody. I don't ever get to talk to anybody who knows Boris Yeltsin, and he's someone who fascinates me. He's arguably...
fascinates us all at this point. Actually just 25 minutes ago, I was looking at some pictures of him, and he looked very unsteady to me, which is not unusual for him, as he came walking through the corridors of the Duma, which is the legislature that gave him another big setback today. You know, it's reasonably frightening if you think of the consequences of this man who is very impulsive. That's a polite way of putting it, and how he runs his government. Fires his whole cabinet one day, rehires half of them the next day, goes away for a long therapeutic rest, as they describe him in his dacha in the woods. This is a country with a nuclear arsenal.
Right.
It's 2.5 times the size of the United States. It has within it the ability, it seems to me, with some of the nationalists who are there, to have a kind of revolt from within again and go back to the hard right. I don't think that that's imminent by any means.
Right.
It's going through an enormous economic struggle. I've been around him a fair amount. I was at a White House state dinner one night with him, and he's been here in New York. I've seen him in Moscow. He is a very, very bombastic kind of guy. Drinks a lot.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to.
I knew that. Somehow I thought that was coming.
Well, because you hear these...
Gentlemen, for those of you in this audience of your generation, he does not drink Cosmopolitans. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, he...
Now, what is he... I mean, you hear about him drinking, and you wonder how extensive is it? I mean, is the man literally holding a keg while he...
I don't know. They now say that he's cut way back on that. But the consequences of all this drinking, I think he's paying for with his health, with his respiratory problems and so on. And well, we don't see him, as you do a lot of NBC vice presidents, staggering around the hallways, holding a bottle up. You don't see that when you walk through.
Tom, I have never seen that. They're hard-working people.
That's all right.
And they do a great job.
Well, you've got a new contract. It's okay. You can say what's on your mind.
Oh, well, then screw him.
Right. But the people around him say now that he has stopped drinking, or at least that he's cut back on it. But all the evidence is to the contrary. And a lot of the American intelligence systems believe that he's probably drinking again. It's part of the culture there. The only one who never drank of all their leaders was Gorbachev. I mean, the fact is that the rest of them all drank heartily. That's part of their, it is part of their life. In the old days, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Moscow, I mean, staggering, falling down drunk, and with good reason.
Yeah. I have to mention NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw is on every weekday evening, and we should all look for The Greatest Generation That Ever Lived. It's a special that you're very proud of. It's later on this year on NBC. We're
working on a special about the World War II generation, the grandparents of these people who are here tonight, who came of age in the Depression, won the war, built the country, and never whined and never whimpered. And they're now beginning to tell their stories. We're going to help them do that. It's really quite remarkable.
Well, that sounds fascinating. Thank you very much for coming. Tom Brokaw, everybody. We'll take a break. When we come back, Michael Moore is going to join us.